Okay, so I've never really done anything like this before, but I'm gonna basically run through this chess game. It's not a particularly good game to learn from, because this is a high skill game. I'm currently rated like 610 or something like that, and the person I was playing against was like 700. So if you're coming here expecting to learn anything from this game, don't. In fact, the AI actually says there's a missed win somewhere for me that I didn't see, so that should tell you the skill level that this is. But this is one of my favorite chess games I've ever played, and it's the most fun I've ever had playing chess. So I'm gonna run through this game. Okay, so I'm white in this, obviously. So I open with king's pawn. He does something odd here. I didn't really understand this move at the time, but you know, whatever. I take the opportunity to take control of the center. I do queen's pawn. He threatens king's pawn, so I play this right here, defending. He now is threatening this pawn, so knight. This is like my favorite opening. If I can get this particular structure, it's something I would prefer to have. It's just pretty much complete dominance over the center. The only thing better, perhaps, here is I could have a bishop out, but that's another move away. So he threatens this pawn. Now he now has a majority on this pawn. So this was my first big think. I think I probably thought about this for 3 or 4 minutes, which is abnormally long for me. So I ran through. If he takes, I take, he takes. He's now up. He's now up a knight. And well, I could have taken with my queen, but I don't like that because now, yeah. I honestly don't remember my thought process here. I'm completely incoherent. But I didn't like the idea of him initiating this taking, because then I didn't want to open up my queen this early, basically. So then I thought, if I take, he takes, I take, which could be good, perhaps, right? Because if I were to take, oh sorry, I forgot this pawn is here, so he would take, and then if I took, he takes, and now he's up 1, so that's not what happens in the game. In this game, I end up playing this pawn up, so now he has 1 way to hit this, and I have 1 as well, but you know, he would have to basically fuck. I am really not good at explaining things. So if he takes, I take, and now he's down a knight, and I have a knight in a really good position that he is at least 1 move away from hitting. So that doesn't happen. He backs up his knight because I'm also throwing a punch at his knight. I take this opportunity to just stack up on this pawn. He also takes the opportunity to stack on the pawn. I castle. I thought through this a lot longer. I think this was my second big. I thought about this for quite a second. And I decided that he doesn't really have a threat here. He decided he did. He kicks my bishop. I say, okay. He dedicates to kicking my bishop, but fucks up and realizes this pawn isn't protected. This is the first time I realized maybe I'm not playing with someone who thinks stuff through all the way, because that was a pretty fast move. I think in-game it only took him like 30 seconds to do that. So he takes. Not a bad move. And now I realize he's threatening this, which would be pinching my queen and my knight. I'd be forced to save queen. So if he played this, fuck, it would be my move. But if he played this and I didn't... Okay, so I have to do something to prevent him from playing right here. Because if he plays right here, he's in a position where he's hitting my knight and my queen. And I could just retake with knight, obviously. But I like my position right here. So I play pawn up just to prevent that. I would pawn take, and both my queen and my knight would still be in a good position. He backs up his knight, which is probably not what I would have done, since I wasn't actually throwing a punch at it. I probably would have just kept it there, but he decides to back up. Oh shit. I threaten it. I'm pinning it. It can't move. He punches my bishop. So this was something that I think it took me a minute or two to think through if I wanted to trade, but the only glory in having bishops is having both of them, so I decided to just respect the punch. He dedicates to the punch. And I say, okay, if you want to dedicate, then I'm going to dedicate to fucking off. And then he does this. So this is the second time he's made this mistake, over dedicating to a bishop and forgetting that a pawn is unprotected. So I take. He takes. I take. Which was bad for him because he effectively just traded a knight for a pawn. I don't think he knew that bishop was there, or I don't think he knew that. I just don't think he knew that existed, or I don't think he would have made that move. But now I'm throwing a punch at his rook, so he has to do something about that, but he doesn't. He takes my knight, which is like, okay, you took my knight, cool, now I'm going to take your rook. And this also took me a second, because I was thinking, like, what the hell, that there must have been some thought behind it, but there really wasn't. There's really nothing that he's trying to do with this. Like, he's not hitting anything diagonally. This bishop is protected. Bad trade for him. So yeah, I take rook. I can't remember what his response to this is. Oh yeah, he threatens the queen. This is another big think moment for me. I think I took almost 7 or 8 minutes on this, because I realize that I'm in a position that's uncomfortable somewhat, where he has 2 very powerful pieces preying on my backline. And this was a big fuck up on my part right here. I played knight for check, thinking, okay, I'm just going to delay it 1 move. I'm going to put his king in check, make him uncomfortable, prevent a castle from ever happening if for some reason that ever would happen. But here's what I don't realize. He can just do that. And now he has prey down on 2 pieces. And this is another big think moment where I realize I fucked up, because I just had to protect the queen. I'm not gonna give up my queen to save a knight, obviously. So he takes the knight because I'm an idiot. That was a bad move. I take bishop. He takes bishop. We just traded white bishops, or white square bishops. I'm in kind of an uncomfortable position here. Maybe not. I'm not very smart at this game sometimes, but I don't like this position personally for me. So I punch his queen, just to see what he would do. And he just pinned his pawn, which is interesting. I think here I was trying to offer a queen trade. And by the way, I didn't see the pinned pawn here, or I probably would have played something like this. In which case, he would have probably done that, and I would have taken, and he would have taken, and I want a queen trade here. But I didn't see that, so I offer the queen trade this way. So if he wants to deny the queen trade, he can do a couple of things. He can play rook to g8, which would prevent me from plopping my queen down right there. He can play bishop to e7, which would prevent me from putting my queen down there, and throw a punch at my pawn at the same time. I like that move more. Instead, he plays an attack on my queen, a punch. So this is also effectively stopping it. I just don't like this as much, because if he'd played e7, he could have thrown a punch at my pawn. I couldn't think there for a second. So if he played this, and I decided to back off, he could have taken, and then I take, and then he takes, and then this is a bad position for me. So I don't know why he didn't do that. So instead he plays that, punching my queen. I say, okay, I back up. So that was a good somewhat trade for him, because he now has a bishop in a more active position. And mind you, this is all like just me, what I think. I'm not very good at this game. Don't take my words as fact. So his response, sorry, is just that. At the time I didn't really know what he was doing with this. I still don't think I do. Maybe I learned at one point. I can't remember. This is probably one of the longest chess games I've ever played. 55 moves. At low levels, like, I don't know how high this goes, but at least at my level, usually if someone gets to force a queen, or gets like a 2-piece advantage, one person will resign, one way or the other. So games don't usually go past like 30. So this is a long game for me. So he just does that with his knight. I'm not sure what he was doing. I finally throw the punch, And he does something interesting that I hadn't even thought of when I was thinking through this variation, where he's just going to protect the pawn. And I dedicate, he dedicates, and now this file is open. So I actually like this trade for me because I'm down a pawn, he's down a pawn, but now my rook is open on the F file. And I don't know how long I thought about this, but I eventually play just rook to F2, and in hopes that I will have a situation where my rook is here and my queen is here, and I check the king, and if queen takes, I take with queen, and that's a bad position for him to be in. So I don't... Okay, so now he's still doing something with his knight that I don't understand. He did block the check from happening, which was good. He couldn't have thought of that, though, from here, or from when he was here. He wouldn't have known that I was trying to do that. So I dedicate to it, just in case he ever moves his knight, and he does, which is odd. I still don't know what he was trying to do here. I guess he was trying to take this, but I throw the check. He moves his king. I can't remember what he does here, to be honest. Or no, it's my move, sorry. Good point. I throw a punch at the knight, and the knight... Okay, this is... Okay, again, this is another big blunder that I almost forgot about. I'm almost positive the computer will recognize this as a blunder. So I put my queen and my rook in a position where they get pinched. And this was the last big think that I had, I think. That was pretty inception. So this is one of the last big thinks I had, because I'm thinking, okay, I have to save queen, obviously. This move has to save queen, or the game's over. And I also can't... So, okay, let me go forward one move. So I do that. I play queen to e2, and he obviously takes rook. And now I can take knight, but that leaves my rook out in the open to the queen. So that's an uncomfortable position to be in, because I effectively, because of my fuck up, I lost a rook, which I don't really like the idea of. So after, I think I'm counting this as the part of the other thing, because I thought through this variation. After a pretty long time, I decide that I did fuck up pretty heavily, and I just hang the rook. Or sorry, I hang the rook. He obviously takes. Now, one of the things I liked about this variation more than saving the rook, or the knight, or yeah, the rook, well, the reason I chose to save, or oh fuck, I'm bad at talking. The reason I chose to hang the rook here instead of protecting it is because what he could have done if I had protected, I'm sure there's something else. I didn't really think through this variation too much, but he could have at least gotten a pawn out of it, and his position is still stronger than mine. He's a very active position, and I don't. So what I decide to do, I take knight, he takes, and now now our positions are mostly equal, I would say. Yeah, mostly equal, more or less. He does have a free pawn here, which he does take. And I don't remember how I respond to this. Okay, yeah. So I realize he's throwing a punch at b2, so I play b4. Meaning, unless he can threaten this pawn, then I'm good. And I believe he does. Yeah, he threatens that pawn. My response is bishop e1, so both pawns are protected. I believe he took a really long time to take this move, but he plays that, which I thought was a fuck up at first, and it is, in my opinion, a fuck up, unless there was something big brain IQ behind it that I don't know. But he takes pawn, and so now I'm thinking, okay, his rook is in a better position, but he just gave up a bishop for it. And I think this is what he didn't see, is that I take. I think he realized right there how much he fucked up, because I think he thought about this next move for quite a minute. He takes. He effectively just gave up a bishop and a rook to take a pawn, so questionable decision making. I start marching this pawn. I see that as my main ticket to victory, is getting another queen. He takes pawn, which is probably a bad move on his part. maybe could have taken more proactive measures to preventing it from there, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to think through like 90 variations just to see if he could have stopped this pawn march, so I just keep marching. I did just hang my bishop, and I was aware of that. Keep on marching, and he starts marching his pawn. And I realize right now that this is going to end up being a game that has 2 queens on both sides. So I threaten the queen. He has to move. He puts me in check. I just get out of it. He continues marching. I continue marching. He checks me. I move. He moves. I have 2 queens. He has 2 queens. And now he has a checkmate. So I realize right here that I kind of fucked up, because if I don't check his king for even one move, I lose, because he plays e queen to g3, and that's checkmate. So I'm like, fuck, I just fucked up. Why did I let this happen? But as you can see, it goes on for quite a bit longer. I check king. He moves. I check king again. And it's just basically a fucking check war. Until I don't remember what move it was. It's quite a ways away. But this is basically just me checking him consistently over and over again. And then here, I'm like, oh my god, I'm lucky as shit. Because right here I had the queen pinned. And he moves, I take queen. So now it's 2 queens versus 1 queen and 3 pawns. So I'm winning by a lot. He threatens queen. I do that. I don't... Oh, never mind. I was about to say, I don't know why I didn't play right here to pin his thing, and then... Yeah, I don't always think stuff through before I say it. So, in this position, he's in check, obviously. He has to move. And then he's in check, and I'm threatening the queen. And his best move here is definitely to take queen. I don't know if... obviously, like, if I was a perfect player, he would have lost anyway. But he would have had a chance, because there's only 1. But instead he moves king, I take queen. And from here on out, I think he's just in fuck it mode, where he's just fucking playing moves that don't matter, because he knows he's lost. And then he plays king there. I just say king there, king b5. And I put him in check, and he resigns. So this was, again, one of the longest games I've ever played. I'm going to finish it versus a computer right now, because why the fuck not, honestly. I haven't thought about playing this versus a computer. Oh, there's checkmate. So yeah, he probably either saw that or a different checkmate. I'm sure there was 9 different ways I could fucking checkmate there with 2 queens. But yeah, it was a fun game. This guy. Yeah. Oh yeah, and there's a missed win. If someone ever actually sees this video and you see where my missed win was, please fucking notify me, because I have looked through this chess game like a lot of times and I just don't see where the missed win is, unless computer says where missed win is. Yeah, it says mate in 2 here. Oh, I think that's what that means. Oh yeah, oh, this is mate in 2. How does... I have no clue how this whole thing works. I've never really used it before. But yeah, that was my 55 move chess game. Definitely my favorite game, like, ever. Oh, here, oh, I think this is what it is. So after I play queen c2, queen c3, wait. This is confusing. I don't know how to read this. But yeah, if you guys see the missed win, then, you know, do it. Do tell me, please. And then the blunders, I'm sure both of us fucked up a lot. That's just kind of what happens at this rank. But yeah, hope you at least somewhat enjoyed or found this interesting. Bye, I guess.